All right, we are back. It is spring 2020, and this is Economics Chapter 5, Part 2. We figured we'd break it up because we didn't want you to sit through 45 straight minutes to listen to Mr. Clem. We'll try and break it up into something less than 20-minute chunks. I need you to jump forward in page 136 in your textbook, and we're going to talk about the production function. And we got an example up here. If we were in class, what I'd do is I'd bring you down to the school store, and I'd unlock the school store, and I'd have the whole class standing outside of it by the AED and the athletic office and the commons and whatnot, and I'd say, okay, let's shove one person in there. And tell me, how many customers could you serve in a lunch by just yourself? Now, you're the person scanning it. You're the person making the ice cream, making the switches out of the fridge and the slush and all of that stuff. That's your job. And somebody come up with a number. Then I'd say, all right, you get to draft somebody else out of the group. So we'd throw a second person in there. And they would say, okay, we got two people working the job. How much could you get done with two people? Now, Subway is the example I got going here. So again, let's say and now we're in a little different time where you can't actually go into the inside restaurant, but let's say it's, 4 or 5 months ago, normal day, normal fall day, and you only got one Subway employee working there. They got to deal with the in-store customers, make the sandwiches, cook up the bread, slice up the meat, open up new product, fill the drinks, and deal with the drive-through, right? And they're only going to be able to get so much done. You add that second person. Now you can start to possibly specialize. One person just making the sandwiches, one person taking the orders, both in-store and drive-through, and then supplying all the stuff. And two's not many. What if you hire three? Okay, so you put a third person in there, and you got, two people rotating, making the subs, and one person taking order and doing drive-through. Maybe you do four, right? So when we start looking at our stages of production, you have stage one, and that is increasing marginal returns. Now, what that means is each new employee you add gets you more and more production. So if we use that Subway as an idea, if I put in 0 employees, well, I get 0 sandwiches getting made, so nothing happens. I go ahead and add 1 employee. And maybe that 1 employee, and again, you set your time frame. Is it an hourly thing? Is it a daily thing? Let's just do an hourly thing. Let's say you can do 30 Subway foot-long sandwiches in an hour. That's taking the order from the customer, making the sandwich, putting it in the bag, taking the cash, going back and forth, cooking whatever up, the whole deal. I add that second employee. Well, if 1 employee by themselves can make 30 product, maybe a second employee should at least be able to do 30 product, if not a little bit more. Maybe when we divvy up, we go ahead and get 70 Subway sandwiches getting made with that second employee, right? 2 people together divvying up duties, you get a little bit more. Let's say I add a third person. Now again, by themselves, they're getting 30 sandwiches done. So logically, you'd have at least 90, but adding that third person, 2 people rotating on the Subway line, 1 person doing the orders and dealing with the drive up, maybe you get 115 sandwiches done. You notice each time I add a new employee, I get more and more productivity out of it. Now, I can add 4, 5, and 6. And when we do this, and the example in the school store is I'd say, well, what if we got 6 people in there? What if we got 7 people in there? And then you kind of stand around and look like, boy, it's getting kind of crowded in there, and maybe we're getting more sandwiches done in the rush hour, but you got a little bit of downtime. So stage 2 of production, and again, I'm looking at page 137. It shows you a picture of that in your textbook. Stage 2 of production, you have decreasing marginal returns. What does that mean? Each new employee you add, you get more than the last one, right? So we add a fourth employee, we go up to 125 sandwiches, right? 125 is bigger than 115. But where we were jumping from 0 to 1 employee and getting 30 more, and then 30 to 70 getting 40 more, and then 70 to 115 getting 45 more, right? Each new employee, I was getting more and more and more productivity. Well, I go from 115, 3 workers making a total of 115 sandwiches, to 4 workers making 125 sandwiches. I got more. But how much more did I get? Well, I only got 10 more. Now I add my 5th worker, and I only make 124 sandwiches. Okay. So at 4 workers in this example, I'm starting to get this decreasing marginal returns. Okay. I get more, just not as much more as the last one. You're not as efficient as you were, but you're still adding some units to what's being sold. So if you looked at it on a visual, stage 1, it's fairly steep, and it's getting steeper. Now when I get to stage 2, it's still getting more, but it's starting to flatten out. Stage 3, I'm starting to go backwards, right? So I'm getting diminishing marginal returns. The difference between decreasing and diminishing. Diminishing means go backwards. You've often heard the term too many cooks in the kitchen. Right? You shove 15 people in the Subway sandwich line, you're going to have things getting screwed up. You got one person taking the initial order, cutting the bread, one person slapping on the meat, one person slapping on the cheese, one person slapping on the salt, pepper, and the Southwest sauce, one person putting it in the oven, one person standing there dishing out soup, one person filling up pop, one person waiting to pull out cookies or chips, one person standing at the drive-up line. At some point in time, people are going to screw things up. Too much stuff going on. You're not getting more productivity. You're actually going backwards. Jumping forward in the textbook, page 138, 139 starts talking about my stages of production: increasing marginal, decreasing marginal, and negative marginal, or going backwards. That's chapter 5, section 1. We jump forward to 5, section 2. Now I'm on to 5, section 3, talking about our costs. We have fixed costs and we have variable costs. Now, fixed costs are oftentimes called overhead. They're always going to be there, right? The salary for the manager who's running the Subway, right? That doesn't change no matter how many employees they have, no matter how many customers they have. The electric bill, right? Whether you flip the lights on and you deal with 100 customers a day or 1,000 customers a day, the light bill doesn't change. You have variable costs that will change with your output, like, say, the bread or the meat or the cheese or the stuff for the Subway sandwiches. Your hourly employees, every new hourly employee you add, right, the more hours they work, or each new employee you add, well, you got to pay that employee more money. Okay? So fixed costs always going to be there. Variable costs are going to change. Next idea is this thing called marginal product. How much more are you getting from your last situation to this situation? Again, this is dealing with efficiency. So the numbers we were using, with 0 employees, we get 0 product getting made. When we get 1 employee, we get a total of 30 Subway sandwiches getting made. So the gap between 0 employees and 1 employee, I got 30 additional sandwiches going from 0 to 1. If I go from 1 to 2, I go ahead and get 70 sandwiches made. Well, I was at 30, I'm now at 70. How much more did I get by adding from 1 worker to 2 workers? Well, I got 40 more sandwiches, the difference between 30 sandwiches and 70 sandwiches. I then move on to employee number 3. I go from 70 sandwiches to 115. Well, how much more did I get? Well, the difference. I went from 2 workers to 3 workers. How much more did I get here? Well, I got 45, and so on and so forth. Okay. Total product is the total number getting made. So 0, 30, 70, 115, 125 in the example we were using here. Now we get into our cost side of things. We have our fixed cost, again, the electric bill, the salary for the manager, who doesn't matter how many employees, these are always going to be the same. They're always going to be the same number, okay? My variable costs over here are going to change, okay? So the more output I have or the more employees I hire, the more my cost is going to change. Now, we're going to do an example. We're only going to have two costs. We're going to have the electric bill, and that's going to be our fixed cost. We're going to have hourly employees, and that's going to be our variable costs, and that's it. We know that there are tons more fixed costs in a real business. We know there are a ton more variable costs in a real business. We're just going to look at those two in an example. We're going to come back to marginal cost in another video. So let's take a look at our revenue. Our revenue is how much are you going to assume you're going to sell this product for, right? So if you think you're going to charge $7 a sandwich and you expect to make 0 sandwiches, you have 0 revenue. If you hire one employee and you got to pay that one employee $50 a day, and let's say the light bill's $100, right? So light bill is $100 and the hourly employee is $50. And we're not going to worry about the cost of the food or anything like that. So I got 0 people. If I got 0 people working, I still got the $100 light bill, but I got 0 revenue, right? I have nothing to sell, but I still got to pay the light bill. So I'm losing money in that case. I'm $100 in the hole. I go ahead and add one employee. So now I got the $100 light bill and the $50 to have this person make the Subway sandwiches. Well, how much did I get out of that one person? Well, I got 30 sandwiches at $7 a piece. I had $210 of revenue. Well, how did I come up with that? 30 product getting made, 30 total product getting made, selling them at $7 a piece. Okay, I'm making money. I'm making, what is that? $60. So total product times marginal revenue. Now I go ahead and add another employee, right? So I got $50 for employee number 1 and I got $50 for employee number 2. Plus I got the light bill of $100. So I got $200 going out the door in spending. But when I added that second employee, I got 70 sandwiches made and I'm selling them at $7 a piece. So I got $290 coming in from selling the sandwiches. I got $490 coming in, $200 going out. So I made a profit of $290. And so on and so forth. So when we're talking profit, we're comparing the money coming in or the revenue versus the cost. And we've talked about this numerous times. The costs come first, right? I hire my 2 employees, I turn the lights on, and I hope that my customers come buy my Subway sandwiches. They may not, right? I can plan and say, well, the maximum I could do with 2 employees is 70 sandwiches. So the best I could do on an hourly or daily basis is $490, right? 70 sandwiches, $7 a piece. But I know I'm going to spend my $200 in costs, $100 in light bill, 50 a piece on my employees. Okay, so I know I got 200 going out. I think I could get 490 coming in for a profit of $290. That's what I think is going to happen. That may not actually happen. So here's an example of a production grid. You'll see something like this sent to you. It's on Schoology, but I'll also send it to you in an email in case Schoology isn't working awesome. Same general idea, just different numbers. So whatever this product is, it costs $22 a piece. That's what we're going to sell it for. Our variable cost is going to be how much we're going to pay our hourly workers, and our fixed cost is going to be our light bill. So again, we look at it. 0 workers, you don't get anything made. Yet you still got the $100 light bill. So my total cost, fixed plus variable, $100. I'm losing $100 on that deal. I got 100 going out. I got 0 coming in. I had one worker. That one worker can get me a total of 8 products, right? So marginal product, marginal means more. How much more did I get from going from 0 to 8? Well, I got 8 more. Okay, still got the $100 light bill. Notice that doesn't really change. But now I got to pay this one worker $75 a day to come make these 8 products. Whatever it is, who knows, who cares? I got $175 going out the door. I got $176 coming in. Selling my product at $22 a piece, and I make a total of 8 products. Okay, 8 times 22 is 176. 176 is my money coming in. 175 is my money going out. I make $1 this time. 2 employees. I get a total of 20 products getting made. How many more did I get? Well, the difference between 20 and 8, I got 12 more. Still got to pay the $100 light bill, but now I got $75 for employee 1 and $75 for employee 2. A total here of $150. I got $250 going out the door. Selling these at $22 a piece, I got 20 of them. 20, whatever it is I'm selling at $22 a piece, I got $440. At best, I can get $190 coming in. Now, the big assumption is I can actually sell everything I make. That may not happen, but this is what our plan is. This is what we're thinking, and so on and so forth. So we're going to hit pause on the video, and I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do the production grid. It may not be these numbers, but it's still the same general idea.